Hey kids, Merry Chrysler, Merry Crisis to everyone who celebrates. I hope you had a lovely time, and today is an important day because today we're going to engage in some very fun little discourse, a silly chit chat about the movie The Housemaid. Oh my god, what an interesting piece of media, I will say. I love it when they make fun movies with batshit crazy stories, but in a good way. Also, I sliced my finger open, so yeah, I'm missing half of my tip. RIP to my tip. No, I'm just kidding. It's just a little cut. I'm very dramatic. It's a tiny little slice. You can barely see it. How y'all doing? Quick backstory on The Housemaid if you haven't heard. It's the newest adaptation of a book made popular by booktok. From what I've seen online, I think the movie is better than the book. He did it again. I haven't read the book, but I have read the ending because I wanted to compare. We need to talk about it. Guys, what a fun movie. I know we're all a bit iffy on Miss Sydney, if only she could say out loud, I'm not a white supremacist. It's so easy. But no, that said, there is a very strong reason for you to watch this film. First name Amanda, last name Seyfried, occupation serving. Amanda was the only person who was acting like she was in the right place. Everyone else, though they try, I don't know, there's an element of campiness that they just simply do not possess. It's what happens when you don't have gay friends. But the story itself is really entertaining as well. The movie is like 2 hours and 13 minutes, which is already a capital sin. Don't make movies that are longer than 2 hours, because if you need to do that, just make a miniseries. That said, the story didn't drag. The twists were inventive and creative, and they added more energy to the story. It really gave it the push it needed to land that dark-sided third act. Glorious, really. And I really do wish that we had stronger leads. Amanda Seyfried, again, was the only one acting like she was in the right place. Brandon Sklenar, he's so hot. But he's also just a stand-in for hot husband in this film, so it's not like he has to do much. He just needs to be butch and flirty. And Sydney, listen, I promise I did not go into this film wanting to hate her performance because I actually do like her as an actress. I know, I actually do think she's a good actress. I mean, she was nominated for 2 Golden Globes or Emmys a couple years ago in the same year. All this to say, I expected more. Her character had so much potential and so much room to become this over the top, exaggerated camp slice of heaven. And instead, it's just dull. Ugh. But I really haven't had this much fun at the movies in a while. So, you know what? Strap in. And while you're at it, why don't you go ahead and subscribe down below because we are almost at 1 million subscribers. And as soon as I hit that million, things are going to change, okay? The Earth's crust is going to rearrange, the mantle is going to emerge, and something weird is going to happen. Hopefully, I'll have my finger back. It's coming. 31st of February. Also, the movie's not out in cinemas, so we're gonna have to get creative with the trailer again. But picture this. Sydney Sweeney is a woman desperate to find a job and a house because she's fresh out of prison, where she served 10 years of a 15-year sentence. She's now been released on parole, and one of the conditions is that she needs to maintain housing and a job, otherwise she goes back to prison. And she interviews for a position as a live-in housemaid for the Winchesters, this rich-ass family. The matriarch is Nina Winchester, played by Amanda Seyfried. Applause. Applause. Amanda, she was smoking the good shit. Straight out of the gate, Nina is just delightful. They get along beautifully. The position is to take care of this massive mansion that has like 4 or 5 stories, and Cecilia, Nina's daughter, who is 7 years old. And the house is absolutely outrageous, immaculately clean. You'd think that no one lives there. It's like a staged house for sale. But Nina does clarify that she is expecting. She's pregnant, therefore very soon she won't be able to maintain this level of cleanliness. I don't know how anyone could maintain that level of cleanliness. That house is ginormous. They have living rooms by the stairs that they don't ever use. Hello. And as a live-in housemaid, Millie would be moving into the attic. And Nina's like, you can play music out loud here. You can blast it all you want. Nobody can hear you anywhere in the house. And that sounds creepy. And Nina's so nice, she even gives her money to cover for gas. Like, hello, right? People that pay you to interview, that should be the standard because it takes time. So Millie gets in the car and straight away we get this low budget voiceover narration of Sydney saying that she's obviously not going to get hired because she lied a lot in her CV and she's desperate for a job. I just want us to pause and acknowledge that the voiceover quality in this movie was absolutely tragic. Nope. I've seen Insta stories with better quality. But Millie is desperate for this job. She's living in her car, and lo and behold, the day after, she gets a call and she's hired by Nina. And as soon as she gets there, guess who's playing the groundskeeper? Are you lost, baby girl? He's back. I don't know who this man is sleeping with, okay? He has like 4 lines in the film, right? He has like 4 lines, and all he does is stands in a corner staring ominously. And that's it. I mean, easy money, right? Easy fucking money. And she walks into that house, and it's like a tornado has swept through the entire place. It's a fucking mess. It's a mess. It's like Nina did it on purpose just to test how good Millie is at cleaning. And she cleans really well, mind you. But later that evening, when we meet Cecilia and Andrew, we realize that Nina didn't tell Andrew she was hiring a live-in housemaid. 2 things that Millie notices straight away about her room. 1, the door locks from the outside, and 2, the only small window in this entire room does not open. And that's a problem because she likes fresh air. But Nina's more than happy to accommodate, and she tells her she'll get her a key and she'll make sure that the window is able to open. And on the very first day, there's immediately a crisis. First, Millie oversleeps. She wakes up late, rushes downstairs, and then she hears screaming. Finds Nina in the kitchen, dumping everything on the floor, breaking plates, having an absolute meltdown, accusing Millie of having stolen her notes for her PTA speech. And she's absolutely unhinged, like someone stopped taking their meds. Andrew shows up eventually because of the commotion and is able to calm down his wife. And I found this still online, and you know what, girl? I would hold on to him as well. For now, you just wait and see. Never trust hot men in thrillers. So Nina's crazy, and Andrew likes to linger a little bit too much when he's talking to Millie. Unfortunately, things don't get easier for Millie. In fact, they just keep getting worse. Nina almost makes her miss her parole meeting with her parole officer, which would mean she'd end up in prison again. And then she tells her to pick up Cecilia from dance class, but then she gets there and Cecilia has a sleepover arranged and approved already. So Millie looks like then Millie overhears the other moms bad-mouthing Nina, and this is where we find a lot of juicy information. Like, for example, Nina is fully financially dependent on Andrew. She has nothing to her name. She's on a very tight prenup. Therefore, she needs Andrew. Also, she was in a psych ward for 9 months, and all the moms think she is fucking crazy. Like, not worth it kind of crazy. Like, everyone talks about Andrew as if he's this saint who stuck by his lunatic wife when he deserved so much better. Y'all, feminism died on that room, okay? In that room, feminism, not a thing. Not a concept. Nope. To make things even worse, we find out via a nosy nanny that the reason why she ended up in the psych ward was because she tried to kill her daughter, Cecilia, in the bath. Andrew was out of town, and he just so happened to call the police to do a wellness check on his wife and his daughter, like at midnight in the middle of the night, and they just so happened to walk in as she was about to drown her daughter. Ain't that a bitch, right? Like, right? And Millie's just like, okay, so I live with an actual crazy person who might kill me. Also, Nina isn't pregnant. She just straight up lied to Millie's face the first day they met. And all the while, Andrew keeps popping up and starting these like very comfy, cozy conversations with Millie. Like, she'll be watching a movie in the middle of the night in the cinema room, minding her business, and Andrew just shows up like, oh, I also couldn't sleep. Let's sit and watch this super old fucking boring ass movie together and just keep on talking and look into each other's eyes and, breathe each other's air. It gets weird to a point where Andrew keeps flirting with Millie, and then Nina keeps threatening Millie. And then the next day, she's like, oh, hi, Millie. By the way, I have all of these clothes that I was just gonna throw away if you want them. They're all fucking designer. So it's like unclear whether Nina even remembers all of her episodes where she acts fucking crazy or not. Or maybe it's just an act. But after gifting her clothes to Millie, she does ask her to book her 2 tickets to see a show in town, to go to the theater with Andrew. Also, hotel rooms so they can have a nice little getaway in town. Millie's like, okay, cool, I'll book everything for you. And what do you know, as soon as they get the tickets, Nina accuses Millie of having stolen their money to pay for the tickets, and it's gonna come out of your salary. Nina's now saying that she's actually going with Cecilia to a summer camp that weekend, so she's not gonna be here. Well, Saturday comes, Nina leaves with Cecilia, leaving behind Andrew. and Millie. And after a brief conversation, and because Millie doesn't have any friends, Andrew offers to take her to the theater. You know, she already bought the tickets and booked the hotel. They might as well enjoy it. So they do. Millie puts on a dress that she just got from this man's wife, and they go on a date into town. And it has all of the traits of a date. They go to dinner, and Andrew is laying it on thick. Like, you have so much potential. Why are you cleaning people's houses? You are so intelligent and beautiful. You could be doing so much more. You could be living your best life. I could help you. Weird shit like that. It's almost like he's interviewing her to kind of understand what her desires for the future are. And if you're ever on a date and you feel like you're being interviewed for a job that you didn't even apply for, you better run for the fucking hills like you've never run before. But Millie is absolutely besmitten by this beautiful, tall, muscular, wealthy man who's giving her attention after she spent 10 years in the slammer. I can't blame her. But they do go back to their hotel room, one in each room. And that's when Millie turns off her phone because she had run out of battery and sees that she received a barrage of angry texts from Nina. Now at this point, I came up with a theory of what is happening, right? I knew that Andrew had to be in on it. I don't trust a man that is this charming and just chill with having such a lunatic for a wife. So I thought in my naivete that this was a complex plan designed by Nina and Andrew. Nina would drive Millie into Andrew's arms, and Andrew would then sleep with Nina. No, and Andrew would then sleep with Millie and hopefully impregnate her because Andrew and Nina have been trying to have kids for a while now, and it's just not working. So in my sick mind, I read somewhere that people said the twist was really dark-sided and crazy. And I mean, narratively, it would have been fucking insane if they just, kept Millie as a prisoner, like an incubator. That's sick. Like, that is really sick. It's sicker than what ends up happening, but what ends up happening is still pretty sick. Millie naturally takes refuge in Andrew's room, and he is more than happy to host her and comfort her and kiss her. And then I remembered that this was an erotic thriller because they sleep together. But like they try out positions, they try out different areas of the room, they try out different tempos. It's very unnecessary, it felt like at some point. Like, we get it, you know? It's not really adding anything to the movie, and I'm not usually one to be prudish with these things, but it at one point it just felt like, okay, like you're just now showing us two hot people going at it. We have day after, and sobering minds agree. This was a mistake. Nina can never find out, and this can never happen again. But Andrew seems unusually chill for someone who's just cheated on his wife of 9 years or 8 years. Like, why are you so normal about it? Like, not a care in the world. And they end up having to rush back home because Nina's coming home early. However, as soon as they get home, Nina's not there. And Andrew's not one to waste time, and he bangs Millie again. Just a few hours in, and they're already having a full-on affair. Repeated lays in the same 24-hour period? Like, how many times have they bumped it? At least 3 times the night before. Nina eventually gets home and she's super happy, almost apologetic for the texts. And then as Millie is serving them breakfast, Nina casually says, "Oh, I've been meaning to ask you, Millie, did you learn to cook in prison?" Then she just casually mentions to Andrew, "Oh yeah, she's been in prison for the past 10 years. So brave to be starting over, and I'm glad that we're a part of your journey." Andrew's face, that was the moment that I knew, okay, he's the problem. It's not Nina. Something in that reaction just tells me that man will kill you, run. But she doesn't. Nina then gives her car keys and tells her to use her car because Millie's car is becoming an unwelcome topic of conversation. Such subtle, classy shade. So Millie goes shopping and the internal monologue is back, and it's a chop. It sounds like a bad YouTube vlog like circa 2010. What are we doing? Do we not have a studio? No me gusta. So Millie's having a bit of an epiphany. She realizes that Nina's known all along that she was on probation, therefore she was messing with her on purpose, knowing that Millie was trapped. She then, in conversation with one of the other moms, realizes that the phone that Nina gave her is actually being used to spy on her, to track her every movement. And then, as Millie's walking to the car to put the shopping in, the police is there because the car has been reported stolen. So Millie's placed under arrest, which is already a problem because she's Andrew's on probation, but Andrew shows up and he takes care of everything and he drives Millie back home. And when they're home, Nina confronts them. Apparently, Millie brought the playbill back home with her of the play that she watched with her married boss's husband. Like sometimes you do stupid shit that you could avoid, right? And then it's like consequences, you kind of deserve them. But Nina confronts them and tells them that she knows they went to see the show together, that they stayed at the hotel together, that they were sleeping together. And Andrew is gaslighting her in such a calm, threatening way that it makes you wonder what else has he been like gaslighting her about, because we know they slept together, but the way he's lying to her face and making her think that she's the crazy one. And then Millie is just there allowing it to happen because in her mind Nina is crazy. I'm telling you, the feminism of this film, it'll come. It's coming, but for now, whew, well, Andrew's had it, and after this last stunt of calling the police on Millie, who she knows is on probation, he's had enough. He kicks her out of his house, and she's like, "You can't do that. It's our house." And he goes, actually, everything is in my name technically. You don't have shit. Get out of my fucking house." And see, Millie has the nerve to say, "Do you need help packing your bags?" But like with a straight face, deadpan, and Nina gets real close. It's like, "What did you just say to me?" So Millie repeats it, and Nina slaps her and walks out. And this was the perfect example of who can serve and who can't, right? Like who would be the star waitress in the serving industry and who would be the chop at the back that nobody wants to talk to because they're terrible with clients, right? Serving is not for everyone. Nina walks out, gets in her car, drives to the gate, and as it's opening, she lets out a primal scream, frustrated, angry, and we cut to Millie and her new beau, Andrew. Guys, they are practically married. He's like, "I haven't felt like this in such a long time. I really like you. I really want to make this work." And she's like, "I am all for it. This house, all for me, all of your money." Yes, she's winning. She's like, she's got out of prison. It's time to level up. Oh, you are about to level up. So the next day, after, a beautiful night of banging, she cooks him breakfast in bed and uses his mom's china. Now, his mom is a character that we've seen once earlier in the film. His mom is a bit of a psychopath. She is very obsessed with how things look and how things are perceived and how much we value things, because everything is a privilege. So you must work hard to earn that privilege, right? So she brainwashed her son into being a perfectionist asshole, a narcissist. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So she makes breakfast and uses that good china that his mom brought. But as she's turning, she sees the groundskeeper, gets scared, and drops the tray. Complete normal accident, breaks the china. Andrew hears the commotion, comes over, immediately fires a groundskeeper. He's like, "I don't need you here anymore. You're fired." So Massimo Michel Morrone, adios, baby girl, he's gone. He's had like 4 lines. Adios, muchacho. Millie apologizes for breaking the china, and Andrew seems quietly upset, but like obviously he's not showing it too much because it was a genuine accident. And he says that he will just have someone who specializes in putting these plates together to put it together. So they're going to glue the pieces. So Millie cleans it all up, but she leaves the cracked pieces of the plate inside a bag. She didn't wash them. So Andrew gets home at the end of a hard day at work where he does nothing in the business that his father left him when he died. He gets home and realizes that his mother's china is broken, all collected in one bag, but it's got food. No, 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 no. Not in mi casa, okay? We are men with very, very fragile egos and a lot of insecurities, and we manifest those insecurities with angry outbursts, right? The need to control, to oppress, to subjugate. That is the condition of the cis het white dude. It's tragic, really, if you think about it. So he brings it up with Millie, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I didn't want to wash it because I didn't want to cut myself." Well, Andrew is just, he takes her up to the attic, and they're about to sleep together when she passes out. And she wakes up in the attic, and it's empty. She's on top of a naked mattress. There's a bucket in the room and a small fridge with 3 small bottles of water. And that is when the twist happens, and wow, what a glorious day. So we go back to when Nina was kicked out of her house, and turns out she wasn't screaming out of frustration. She was screaming out of happiness. She is finally free of him. And then we learn about her backstory through a letter that she writes her daughter Cecilia. And long story short, when she was a kid, her parents died in a fire, and Andrew had implied earlier to Millie that Nina may have had something to do with that as a kid. But Nina clarifies that though her parents did die in a fire, she had nothing to do with that. She loved them very, very much. And for a long time, she even wished she had been taken with the fire as well. She grew up full of insecurities, very alone. And it wasn't until college that she had a fling with a married professor who left her pregnant, but refused to be in the child's life. So she had the baby and she started working up the career ladder until one day, working in this company, she was humiliated by a room full of man babies. Bloated man babies who have never been with a woman where it didn't involve transaction of money or goods, because no one in their right mind would ever want to be in a room with any of these men out of free will. Why would you? Unless it's a snow party. And then these are your guys. They have all the best prices and products. The merchandise coming through these offices, you would not believe it. I'll never forget the day that my boss gave me cash to go get coke. So she's humiliated by these men, and that catches the attention of Andrew, who invites her to dinner and then showers her with affection, saying that she has so much potential, she's so beautiful. Well, 6 weeks after the first date, he proposes. She says yes. She was desperate. He had a lot of money. She had a daughter. She's completely smitten by him, and she wasn't in the easiest financial situation to begin with. But then things take a turn very early in the marriage, and this is when you know that this man is the type of danger that you read about in history books, like Jack the Ripper kind of evil. To me, for me. Early days into their marriage, Andrew notices that Nina's roots are growing. He mentions it, and she casually says, well, I have an appointment booked at the hair salon tomorrow, so I'll take care of it. Except the day after, she doesn't have time. She doesn't get the roots done. And Andrew, first thing he notices as soon as she gets home is he literally inspects her head like a monkey. This man is psychotic. So like Millie has barely walked through the door and he's like, oh, actually, can you come help me find something in the attic, these documents? So she does. Except as soon as she walks in, he locks her in that room, leaves her there till the next day. And then he comes back and he tells her that there are consequences for your behavior, right? You need to be at your best. You need to do your best, be your best, look your best, smell your best. You get the idea, right? And if you fail, there's got to be a punishment. Otherwise, how are you going to know how to behave? So as a punishment for not getting her roots done, he slides an empty envelope under the door and tells her to rip out 100 hairs out of her scalp, collect them and put them inside the envelope and slide them back. And he tells her that she needs to be very careful with the roots because he wants to see the follicles. Okay, and if he can't see them, she's gonna have to start from scratch. And for a while, she resists, like for a day or two, but then the hunger starts hitting and she hadn't seen her daughter. So she rips out 100 hairs out of her head and slides them under the door. Except Andrew tells her, sorry, but one out of the 100 hairs that you ripped out of your scalp actually had a broken root. So you're gonna have to do it again. Sorry, more careful next time, please. So she does it again, 100 more hairs, and when he comes back to collect her, he gives her water straight away and she drinks it desperate. But then she runs out the room looking for her daughter. She finds her daughter and passes out because Andrew just drugged her. And when she wakes up, it's in the middle of the night and she hears water running. She runs to the bathroom to find her daughter in the bathtub, submerged in water. She rushes to get her out, and that's when the police break into her house and find her there. Caught red-handed, she's taken to the psych ward after not doing anything wrong. The stay at the psych ward lasts 9 months, and those 9 months gives Andrew a lot of time to bond with Cecilia, to brainwash the girl into really, really liking him. So when she comes out, she realizes that she is fully dependent on him. She has no way out, and now with Cecilia showing affection for him, she's trapped. And she starts wondering how she'll ever get out of this marriage alive. The groundskeeper was actually helping her, and apparently in the book they were fully fucking, but in the movie that isn't a thing because I think they had to cut down on the narrative, thank God. But he tried helping her once. He got her fake passports, but then Andrew found the passports, sent her back to the psych ward, and Andrew really wanted a baby. But Nina pretty quickly decided, absolutely not gonna happen on my watch. So she got an IUD without telling him, and then just pretended like her ovaries were kaput. That, of course, only upset Andrew more, who then took out his rage on Nina. Suddenly, everything was a reason to lock her in the attic. She spilled a little bit of juice. She left the light on for too long. And that's when Nina comes up with a plan to get rid of Andrew. She knows that his weakness is his need for admiration, for being adored, admired. So she decides to hire a housemaid to be her replacement. Someone that will fall in love with her husband. Someone that her husband will choose over her so she can just freely walk away from the marriage, because if it's Andrew's decision, then she doesn't have to fear retaliation. So this whole punishment is how it all starts, and considering that it started within the first few weeks of being married to Nina, and it's now happening with Millie like the day after they officially get together, it's kind of insane. So back at the house, Andrew tells Millie that there are consequences for her behavior and that she's gonna have to learn, and talks about how the china is a privilege and blah blah blah. Slides one of the broken pieces of the china under the door and tells her that he wants her to cut herself 21 times in the stomach, in the torso, long and deep, one cut for every piece of broken china that she didn't wash. And this is when, we kind of find out why exactly she was in prison. Because Nina's original plan was to find someone to replace her as the wife. But then when she interviewed Millie, she realized she could do better. She could hire someone to kill Andrew. Because when Millie went to prison, she didn't go to prison for like petty robbery or assault or drug use. No, she went to prison for murder. She saw a guy try to rape her roommate, so she bashed his head in, murdered him at 15. This was in a very hoity-toity school. She was there on a scholarship. Everybody's parents was really rich, so she got sent to prison. Even her own parents disowned her. So she spent 10 years in prison, then she got out on parole, and that's how she found herself here. But she said that she does not regret killing the guy. She didn't mean to kill him originally, but she doesn't regret it. So Millie goes through the punishment and she cuts herself 21 times, but she also finds a little spatula that Nina had left there, because when Nina hired Millie wanting her to kill Andrew, she decided to leave it a little hidden gift for her to use. And I'm like, all those years in that house with that man, and you couldn't have killed him in his sleep, you couldn't have poisoned him. Like, something's gotta give, right? Years in that house. You never tried. This girl's gonna do it for you in less than 2 days. So Andrew comes in to let Millie out, and he gives her a little soft speech like, I can give you everything you've ever wanted. You can have it all, but you gotta learn the rules, and you gotta learn that there's consequences. But you want that, right? You want to be married and happy? And she stabs him in the neck with the little spatula thing and then runs out. But he catches up to her. She falls to the floor. She's not going down without a fight. She kicks him and manages to get away, locks him in the room with no phone or weapon, mind you. Andrew is in big trouble because Millie is now telling him, hey, by the way, I went to prison for killing a guy. I got no problem killing you too. By the way, let's play a game. Remember how you asked me to cut myself? Well, I have a request for you. She slides pliers under the door and tells him to rip out his front tooth. That's because earlier he was talking so highly about his own smile and saying how smiles are important when you meet people. It's the first impression they get from you, of you. English sometimes escapes my brain. Millie's kind of evil, and at this point she does like a 180 twist in her personality. She just goes like full bonkers evil, and I love it. She goes and gets his mom's china and starts breaking it. Then if that wasn't enough, she starts pouring gasoline down from under the door. And at that point he thought, okay, no, shit, like I will actually die. I'll do it. So he rips out his tooth, and does she let him out? No. She says, I'll be back in the morning, and leaves him there. And this is where things get tense. This is where they up the ante a little bit. This is where the ending deviates from the book significantly from what I've learned. So at this point, Nina had Cecilia, and they were ready to go on the run when Cecilia tells her mom, I think we need to take Millie with us. Cecilia, kind of knowing that her father is kind of cuckoo. Her father, the stepfather. So Nina goes back for Millie. Except Nina doesn't realize that Millie is so much more efficient than Nina expected. Like, it's been less than 2 days and Millie's already won. He's locked in that room. But Nina sneaks into the house, not knowing that Millie's already out, and she goes to unlock the door. Millie at that point had woken up and investigating the noise and catches Nina just in time as she's opening the door. So Andrew walks out. He's like, "Good to see ya, wife," and pushes her down the stairs. Nina comes rolling down and he catches up to her and he starts attacking her, but Millie's a good one. She smashes a vase in his head and runs down the stairs. So he runs after her. And he grabs her and he starts choking her. And he's like, "What are you gonna do?" She bites him in the arm and then she punches him like 4 or 5 times in the deep cut that he has in his neck from the spatula. And then she punches him in the face and runs out the house, disappears completely. Millie's gone. So he runs back inside and finds his wife, Nina, and he decides to apologize. He realizes now how good he had it with Nina. And he does start off quite apologetic, quite like groveling almost. But it quickly switches and he says that with one phone call, Millie will be back in prison for the rest of her life. And Nina will be begging to come back. And he can also put her back in the psych ward at any moment. So just come back to me, Nina. And Nina drags him to filth. She says that everything in his life is a lie. His career and his job were handed to him by his dad. His wife absolutely fucking hates him. And his of a mother will never show him any affection despite how much he tries to win her over. And then ends with, "I'd rather be dead than spend another day with you, you fucking monster." And he says, "It would be my pleasure." But guess what? Millie was there the entire time. Nina dodges his attack. Millie pushes him and he goes flying down the 4 or 5 stories and lands on the floor, dead. Then Nina drops a light bulb next to his body so that the official cover story is that he was trying to change a light bulb in the middle of the night and he fell to his death. Nina does tell Millie to run away and she does, even though she doesn't run far away because she's still on parole. So she can't really go anywhere. And when the police is there, Nina explains the story, and the police officer actually mentions how she is the older sister of Andrew's past fiance, and how her sister was deeply traumatized and changed after the relationship with Andrew. Writes off all of the unusual wounds the body had, not consistent with a fall of this nature, like the stab in the neck and the bite marks in the arm and the missing tooth. Reports it as an accident, and yeah, feminism is back. Feminism is back. And I think it's the funniest thing ever that at Andrew's funeral, his mom was more worried about the fact that he was missing a tooth when his body was found than the fact that her son is dead. She uses the fact that her son was found with a missing tooth as a warning for people to brush their teeth and take care of their oral hygiene. Almost like disparagingly claiming her son didn't, and it was an embarrassment to have died missing a tooth. The mom is wild. Like, this woman is crazy, but we could have told by the haircut. All is good. Nina gives Millie $100,000, tells her to make a life for herself. That is so lovely nice. Then obviously she moves with her daughter to California. And then the movie ends with Millie interviewing for another live-in housemaid position. And the woman interviewing her says that Nina recommended you highly. In fact, she suggested you, and reveals bruises on her arms. So Millie says, "When can I start?" And I had to look it up to see if this was the director of the film trying to set it up for future sequels or if the book had actually ended like this. And no, it's in the book. Like, the book kind of sets it up for sequels. If honestly, I kind of want to watch sequels. Hey y'all, editing Eric here, and my dumbass should have at least looked it up before making a fool out of myself on camera. There's actually 4 books in total, like 3 more books. And in case you are wondering, yes, I will be reading them all right after I finish reading all the Heated Rivalry books. What a fun movie, guys. It's got twists, it's got turns. Yes. And now for the curious Sallies on how the book ends. Guys, the ending of the book, though I like it better because it's more like, it's even more dark-sided, I don't think it would have worked so well in movie form. So in the book, she forces him to not remove 1 tooth, but like 4 over time. And every time he removes a tooth, she just doesn't let him out and then goes back and tells him to rip out another one. And eventually he just dies in the room of thirst. So then Millie eventually goes back at the request of the groundskeeper, not her daughter in the book, and she finds her husband dead and then apologizes to Millie, and Millie's like, "Yeah, all good. And they come up with a cover story that her husband must have locked himself in by accident when she was out of town and he died of thirst. And in the end, Millie is interviewed for another position in a presumable abusive household. What a fun time. Amanda Seyfried just pissed all over this damn movie like it stank of her, right? Every scene, her presence just lingered. Honestly, what a fun time. And you know what we need right now? We need fun times because times are not fun anymore. Like, look around. Times have stopped being fun. And that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this video, make sure to leave it a like down below. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Join the family. And until 2026, stay safe, stay sane, stay stupid, and stay stuttering. Bye, guys. I actually have to check if it's. Are we in 2025? Can't believe I just asked that.